So I say this, no matter what you do, no matter who you are, there's nothing better than a good name. There's nothing better than someone calls your name like, yo, I know that guy. He's a fun guy. He's a cool guy, man. And you want to, link up with him. There's nothing better than that, regardless of what you're doing. And that's what I always start with, because my dad didn't have a good relationship like with people. He had awful relationship with some people. Like, he would fight you. Like, if he was driving, he would like curse at people. And I learned from everything he didn't do right, and I plan to do that right.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of 8+1 The Classroom. My name is Charles Nzali. Today, I have someone that I've been watching from afar. I've been literally stalking this guy and his work. If you were around the Kansas City area, you might have run into him or heard of him one way or the other. Everybody knows Zik. Or you've heard of the Fight Up KC. Fight Up KC is a great show. Here, I will let him talk about it so he can do justice to his show. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Zik with me. Zik, welcome to 8+1 The Classroom.
Thank you for having me, man. Shout out, Charles. Shout out. Man, you've been stalking me. Dang, I should try and hide more. But then ain't nobody know me in KC, man. Ain't nobody know me. I just be around doing some weird thing. If you go on my page, I just do weird things. But anyways, it's an honor to be here, man. I appreciate you inviting me on. We're about to chat. We're about to get into it and get the vibe going. So
good. Let's start with the show Fired Up, right? What inspired it and how did it start?
Much like all the great things that happen in life, it usually comes out of atrocity and negativity and things that happen to you that you kind of have to learn from. For me, Fired Up started in 2018, back when I left UMKC, because I went to UMKC. I graduated last year, finally graduated, got that paper that said, you did it. But 2018, I left UMKC for a spring semester. I couldn't pay for my tuition. My dad was sick, and my brother was just starting his company out. So I didn't have any money to pay for tuition, and the only choice I had was be able to just leave campus and figure out if I want to come back or figure out a way to hustle, right? So I was out for the whole semester, and also mind you, in 2018, I came in as a student, international student. So I had a student visa. Yeah. And that means if you leave school, your visa is done. You're out, you're illegal, right?
Yeah.
So I was out of, UMKC, and at that point, I was doing all the social things on campus. People knew me everywhere on campus back then. I was an international ambassador. I was a campus ambassador. I was all these things. And then I left UMKC, and people were like, where you at? No one knew. I was off of Instagram. But at that time, I was trying to figure out, like, who am I? What am I here to do? Like, what value can I bring to people? Because as a kid in Nigeria, I never had opportunity to even speak up and find out who I was. Mm-hmm. I'm the last kid in my family. Mm-hmm. And my dad had more than, 5 wives. I have 5 other siblings, and then 3 other siblings from my different moms, right? So ever growing up, I was a little kid in the house. So I never had a voice or to figure out who I was. I was just pretty much following what all the siblings were doing. Mm-hmm. So I think 2018 was time for me to figure out, like, yo, this is reality. You got to figure out who you are. Like, you really have to stick your foot down and say, are you going to move forward or go back? Mm-hmm. So that was a time moment for me in 2018. I left UMKC spring semester and went to Iowa, where my brother was living at that time. I was there chilling, hustling, trying to figure out who I am, trying to find value. Mm-hmm. I read, Think and Grow Rich, The Power of Subconscious Mind, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Mm-hmm. And all these things I was reading was being, and I was also at the religious phase of my life. I was deep into Christianity. I was like trying to figure out, like, yo, God, if you have a way out, show me right now, because I need it. Like, and I was going through that process, like, yo, I don't know what I'm going to do, because I don't know if I want to go back to school or, stay out. And I really didn't want to go back to school because I was doing civil engineering, and I don't like engineering. I'm not an engineering guy. It was what I came in with, but I had to go with it. But then fall of 2018 was when I finally saved up a bunch of money. I was OUMKC at the time, $12,000. It was a lot of money. But I saved up that money. I said that was like I saved the money, and the reason why I came back and the reason why I paid it was because of something that happened to me. I was driving. I tell this story, and it's always like a movie, but like I was driving on the highway. I don't know. I can't remember what day it is, but it was. I remember it was an afternoon. I was driving home, and I was on the passing lane on the left. This was I-35 in Iowa, right? I was on the passing lane on the left, and I kept hearing this voice saying, change lanes now, like change to the right lane. And I was like, why would I change lanes? It's a 12 p.m. afternoon. No, if the freeway is empty, no traffic, it's just me and another guy right all the way to my right. But the voice kept saying, yo, you gotta switch lanes right now. And it became so insistent. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do it. So I literally changed lanes from the passing lane to the next lane. And as I was changing lanes, there was a tire coming. Like I saw the tire that came out of another car, bounce it. Like it literally went and bounced where I was. So in that split second, if I didn't make a decision to move, that my car would have crashed. That would have been it for me. And as I looked in the rearview mirror, and the tire was bouncing on other cars, like literally like cars were doing this behind me. And I looked in that rearview mirror, and there was a silence in my car. And I looked across my right, and there was another guy who was in the car, and we looked. I was like, yo, we just survived.
Yeah.
That, right. And in that moment, there was a silence in my car. It was peace and quiet, and it said, are you ready to go now? I'm like, bet. Yeah, I think I am ready to go. And that was the voice that told me, yo, and I got home that day, and my mom came to visit. Like, she came from Nigeria to visit. So I told my mom, yo, I'm going back to UMKC. I don't know what's gonna happen there, but I'll show you this. I will come through with this. Like, I will. Don't cry for me. Just pray for me, but I will pull through. And literally, I paid, I think it was the next year, the day after, I paid all the money in my account, paid it to UMKC. I was $0 in my account. And I moved back to UMKC in fall of 2018 with no place to live or no plan of doing anything. But I knew I had some friends. I called them, yo, I got no money. I just need a couch to stay on. And the whole of 2018 fall semester, I was sleeping on the couch. And then I started Fired Up as an organization to kind of inspire people and be able to for people to find their purpose. And that's kind of how the vision started. And that formed into a radio show. And from radio show, it became a podcast where I interview entrepreneurs in KC. But at first, it started by religious purpose and being able to ask God, what is my purpose and what is my why here? And as that kept elevating me into speaking to entrepreneurs who have found their purpose and what they're doing and helping other people, that helped me, yo, this is my path now to be able to discover what I want to do. And if it's like talking to people, that's what it is. So yeah, that was the whole path to where we are today, which is Fired Up KC.
Wow. Stories like yours is the reason I started 8+1 the classroom, because myself as a Gambian child in America, trying to figure out what is what, who is who.
Yes.
Trying to see where you fit in, what works for you, what would not work, because the ideas we have in Africa when we come here, some of them are not even, you cannot even implement some of them.
No,
some of them.
close.
It's like, go and study engineering, go and study law, go and study law. It was law for me. And then when I got here, I realized I have to actually go have a 4-year degree first.
Yeah.
Then go to law school, and then however many years that is.
That takes you about 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
again.
however many years that takes for me, that's the route.
Yeah.
And okay, but you're an international student, and you have to pay a school fee.
Law school and no joke. The fee.
And you're like, okay, so now I need a change of plan because this is not going. And that change of plan is usually what takes us through the mud. It literally drags us across the concretes of America, hustling with most of the time we don't even have the right paperwork. We can't walk. So you're doing some of the most craziest jobs you ever find.
Whatever you can find on the street.
Whatever you can find that is going to pay you, you're doing.
Yeah.
Because
trying to survive.
Regardless of your qualifications, they're not giving you a job because you don't have
You don't have
a work permit. And when you step out of school, you're out of status. Now you have to pay to get back into status, to get back into school. So it's a lot of intricacy that's into this that not too many people understand. That's why I started this platform, and I think this is going to be a good conversation. Let's talk a little bit about your upbringing in Nigeria, right?
Okay. Not to kind of like stuff, but like I think also another thing that is not talked about more, I think needs more attention is mental health for international students.
Oh yeah.
The amount of pressure we go through, the amount of anxiety I was going through in 2018, like, because if I was driving and a car passed me or a police car passed me, I was like, yo, if they're going to pull me over, is this going to be it?
Yeah.
The amount of anxiety you have of deportation, of, what you're going to do next, it's like, it's so much pressure that you get into that you are always on alert.
Yeah.
Always on like defense mode, right? So it's like a lot of that no one talks about, because we go through and we survive it, but every part of your life, grows from that. You are in a survival mode every single day of your life, and that keeps going regardless of what you're doing. You're always in survival mode because that's the only way you know. So that's what I want to know.
And let's stay in that topic a little bit, right? Because the sad part about all of that, I don't know about a lot of people, right? But I don't know if I can pick up my phone, right, and call my mom and tell my mom I'm having mental health issues. I don't know if I can do that.
No.
I don't know if that I am accorded that luxury. And speaking about it itself, sometimes you don't even know exactly what it is you're dealing with.
Yep.
Because I was damn near homeless. I was like homeless for like a couple of days, like almost a month.
Wow.
Sleeping in the gym. I have no contact with my family, my siblings. So you sit there every day and you are wondering, like, so what is next? What is next?
What's
What
the
is
way
next?
forward?
What's
Yep.
next? The need to be great, it's a motherfucker. When you have that pressure on you every day,
Yep.
thinking what is next, I don't want to be classified as a failure. Because at the end of the day, that's the pressure that we're all running away from. People back home saying, how long have you been there? You've been there this long. What have you achieved? What did you get? So that pressure, plus the pressure of dodging immigration,
A lot.
the pressure of you have to move around in America. You cannot the bus system is not reliable. You get a car, your car is not registered. Even if it's registered, you don't have a driver's license.
There's a lot
or you are
going
in the
on.
streets driving. A police car can be somewhere. The police can be minding their business. They have no idea who you are. They're not even concerned
They're not
about you,
concerned
right?
about you, but
And you're already shaken to death in that steering wheel.
Yep.
And then it's just a huge pile of issues that are very different issues. Because thinking about school and thinking about your family back home, these are two different issues.
Yeah.
But they're all piled up on you. And you trying to figure out yourself, you trying to learn what is what in America, where is what, how do I fit in, what do I do, how does this work, what is going to work for me.
Exactly. Yeah.
That is also another issue of its own. So it's like, it's a pile of stuff that is on you as an international student, and you're trying to walk through that line to figure this stuff out. And it's like, nobody's ever prepared you for this. It's not even close.
And even speaking about you talking to your mom, like, I don't think my mom would be mentally prepared to take what I might tell her.
Yeah.
Because my mom is very religious. So she doesn't understand what it means to have mental health issues. Like, you have to explain what mental health issues is to her. So, because back home, when people hear about mental health issues, they're thinking about mad people. Like, are you crazy? Something wrong up there.
Yeah.
But I think that's the whole conversation, a whole education. I think for our generation to educate older people that there is something called mental health that you are going through every single day of your life that you don't know is a thing because you've never actually addressed it. No one has taught you that this is a thing. And I think that also goes in with, like, I can't call like my brother and tell him like, yo, what I'm going through. Because then it's all this manly vibe of like, yo, go figure it out, go deal with this. But
you're a man.
There's a whole steps that gets to you, like, and I think that's another thing too, like, if you're married, having someone who understands who you are, someone who can be able to like relate with you, someone like, I also sometimes I get in the dark of like, yo, don't ask me what I'm thinking, because I have thinking about a lot of things, because growing up, I didn't get those tools to manage my mental health. And even now, I still am trying to get the tools to manage that, as being open to having conversations.
Yeah.
And that's a tough thing for like being African. Like, you never have conversation about yourself. You always have a conversation about like what I'm about to go do, what I need to do, as opposed to what do you need? Like, what do you need personally? You never think of that, right? And also being an international student, going back to that, is like you have culture shock you're dealing with.
Yeah.
You have finances.
Yeah.
You have the future. You have conversation you had to like, yo, people are talking about you've been here for a couple of years now. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
When I was in Nigeria, I had my siblings who were living here. Like they came here and they got older in like a year, and they came back. I'm like, whoa, you got older. Now I know why they got older, because you're thinking of so many things.
Yeah.
And you're like trying to figure out A, B, C, D.
Yeah.
Because you're not just here for yourself.
Yeah.
There's a whole village behind you.
Yeah.
That you are actively trying to be able to support.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
Yeah. It is a lot, and these conversations are what is needed. It's a child somewhere who is thinking about coming to America, and has no idea what
it entails,
what it takes.
Yeah,
has no idea what he or she is about to walk into, right? And he or she is gonna come here, and then it's gonna be like, oh shit.
It's a lot.
And that oh shit moment comes for everybody. Yep. It comes in different stages, different forms. But at some point, you're going to be like, oh shit.
This is real life.
This is real. This is real.
Yep. And no Hollywood out here in the streets.
No. And we see America, we see Hollywood. And then you come and then you're like, oh, so
this is no Prince of Bel-Air. This is KC, baby.
Yeah. Oh shit. That's Wyandotte County too?
Yep.
Oh, okay.
It's real out here. Yep.
Oh, that's Independence Avenue. Oh shit.
And you got to deal with also like speaking English too, because like people can understand you half of the time. Like, what do you mean you don't understand me? Like, this is my story. One time there was this store, because I used to live on Truce, right?
Yeah.
And there was this convenience store where I would go and get like groceries.
Yeah.
And each time I go there, this lady does not understand me. And like I went in there one time to buy sugar, and I was saying sugar. She did not know what I was talking about. The next day I had to go and get sugar from UMKC, and I showed her, this is what the heck I'm talking about. Like, this is what I mean. This is sugar. Like, oh, sugar. And I was pronouncing it different back then, and she couldn't hear me. Just sugar. Like, something as simple as sugar is a challenge for someone to hear. So just imagine having a whole conversation and you talk all your heart out, and someone says, huh? You're like, wait, you didn't hear one thing I said.
Till this day. In Gambia, everybody says Charles. What's your name, Charles? I came here. What's your name, Charles? Huh? Can you spell that? Charles. Oh, Charles.
Oh, Charles. That's what you're talking about. Okay.
And I'm like, are you serious? So it's the small, intricate things. You know what I mean? And as a Nigerian, as a kid who grew up in Nigeria, right? How has your upbringing in Nigeria impacted the man that you are now in Kansas City?
I mean, honestly, like I said, my dad, he married one. He at the time we had three different women living in our house, right? There's like always multiple wives in the house, right? So growing up and being the last kid, I was always the one who, I didn't have a voice, but I had a time to just listen. I was always listening because I couldn't say nothing.
Yeah.
All I did was listen and process information and turn the bad information into something positive, because that's all I knew, right? Like, I had to learn how to be in strange situations, be in tough situations, and wake up the next day being happy, like living my life like it was normal. So I think coming here and being that I've already been through that growing up, I was able to push through hard times because I was prepared for that, even though I didn't know about it. Like, it got to a point where I was like, yo, there's only one way forward, and that's forward. Like, ain't no going back. And this is it. So I think my upbringing, even though mental health wise, has not been the most positive, but in terms of like work ethic, in terms of believing in something and being able to stick down to it, is something I learned from me and my dad mentally. There's so many things he did wrong, but as a work ethic kind of human being, you cannot beat him. Like, you cannot beat his work ethic. You cannot beat his economics. You cannot beat his mindset of who he is, and he knows who he is. No one can tell him who he is. And I think that's one thing I learned about him. He always tells me, speak up. Because as a kid, but him telling me every time to speak up and own up to who I am, I think gave me that confidence that it's time. that's what you've been being prepared for so long. It's time to go. Like, so I think my upbringing, growing up in Nigeria, and seeing like I saw poverty around me, just seeing how people were living, and coming here and seeing so many opportunities, and seeing that you can actually become someone and become like you are your own brand. Figuring that you can place yourself in a certain situation, like you can become anything you want to be. Like you might not know this, but I was a heavy starter. Like I was starter like back in the days, but I solved that problem because I came here and I knew that if I wanted to become someone, I will learn how to communicate. So I went on YouTube, listen to people of how to control your breath, how to control what you're talking about. And my first inspiration coming here was seeing my friend being a campus ambassador and giving tours. And I'm like, I want to give tours. I want to talk to people. And I got a campus ambassador job, and that helped me be able to communicate with people on a large group of people. And now when I'm speaking or to like presenting, it's no issue because I've been under pressure a lot of time. So I would say, I think my dad is a big inspiration, and especially I always wanted to be a public speaker because I always saw him speak, and the way he commanded a crowd was insane. Like he could say something like a crowd because he started in UK, so he had that like the audacity, like he knew who he was. So when he spoke, people respond with like energy. So whenever I'm in a room when he's talking, I'm like, yo, I want to do that one day. Behind the scene, his life was not the best, but when it comes to work ethic as a man in the community, he was that guy. So I would say he's a big inspiration.
Yeah, that African kids, right? I mean, I've not been to all over Africa. But one thing I do notice about us is that our parents, our fathers are always, for the most part, are heroes. And for the most part, I think what it is they did what they knew to be okay for them.
True.
They did what worked for them, they did. But sometimes in today's generation, it's almost like we look at what they did and we're like, oh shit, that's crazy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But they did exactly what they knew.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just the disparity is just too wide. And then, but when you sit back and actually look closely, the older you grow, the more you start appreciating some little conversations, little things, little examples, especially examples that have to do with work ethic.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just sit back and say, man, if there's anything I can never take away from this man, he was a hard worker. And it's beautiful. It's just beautiful confusion. That's what I think it is.
Yeah, I mean, I think the importance of a father figure in the house cannot be mistaken. Like, it's very important.
Never.
And especially, my dad was an entrepreneur all his life, so I never saw him work for anyone. So growing up, I'm like, that's what I'm gonna do. Like, I ain't gonna work for nobody, right?
Yeah.
And inside of me, even though I didn't know, like I never, like it's already instilled in me that I want to work for myself, and build stuff that I want to build, and also want to impact my community. So if you go back home now, my dad was in politics back in the day, and the first office he got, I think it was like a chairman, local chairman back in the day. Yeah. And that was like it wasn't a huge position. Yeah. But the schools he built, the roads he built, the market he built is still there today. That's what people are using till today.
That's legacy.
Like he left for people to use till today.
That's legacy.
And people that came after him didn't do nothing.
Nothing, yeah.
So what he did, the school that he built,
yeah,
my siblings went to those schools.
Yeah, that's legacy.
Right? So when I see what he did for the community, that's always my bigger picture. Like, I want to be able to impact my community. I don't want to live a quiet life. Like, if you're not impacting the person next door, what are you really doing, right? Yeah. Again, I always have to preface with his personal life. I am not going to emulate that. Yeah. Because I have learned from that. But what he did for outside, like business wise, community wise, relationships he built with people, I learned from that a lot. And that's what keeps me going. Each time I think back to the name he built, like the name he built for himself, just by himself, made me know that there's more possible. Like I can do so much more. So there's a lot of work to be done, and
you know one thing, the one beautiful thing about self-made people, right? Mm-hmm. It don't matter where you take them. It does not matter
Yeah.
where. If you are a self-made hustler, that's just who you are. In Africa, same you. If you were that, you were
grind.
just that. If you're a lion, you're just a lion. You bring the same person to America, dump him somewhere in America, leave, come back. A
He
few
can find a
years,
way.
he had found a way.
Yeah.
You take him. It don't matter where in the world, right? And if you have a front row seat to that and watching that, you get inspired by that in small bits and pieces.
Exactly.
And you don't even know. And when it's time for you to go to action, it's like boom.
It comes
It's
to
like,
you.
oh, I know what this is.
Yep,
I've
been
not
prepared.
been through this, but I've seen this. I know I know where this road leads to. I'm getting to it. I'm gonna hustle myself to death. I'm gonna make sure I stay on track. I'm going to do everything that is
Whatever
needed.
it takes.
Whatever it takes, I'm down. Let's go. And it's a beautiful thing. That's why that just tells you how important it is to have that father figure.
Let me add this one thing before you ask your next question. In terms of the hustle mentality, so my brother Nelson, who actually gave me an opportunity to come here, is one person that I would say, like, if no matter where he put him, he's a hustler. Like, he makes a way no matter where he's at, right? So that's one person who I see, like, yo, he has the business etiquette, like he's like business smart, like he knows how to build things out of nothing, right? I'm the relationship guy.
Yeah.
I'm the network guy. If you put me in a place where there's 2 people, like 5 people in the whole town, I will find those 5 people and make them my friends.
Yeah.
That's just who I am. That's who I've been ever since I was a kid. Like, in my community, like, I have hundreds of kids who I bring to my house to play with me. So they all know me. And that's what I do in KC. Like, I just know how to build relationships. That's my main thing. And my brother's one who, like, literally, I don't know how he does it, but he finds something and he makes it become lots of money.
Yeah.
But for me, you give me like, you throw up me somewhere, and by the time you come back in a week, I'll be the most known person around that area, because I just love interacting with people. Because I grew up in a house where I had to navigate all the older people, and I had to know how to communicate with different people to as a kid. You have to learn how to navigate a house with 5 wives in it. Like, you have to navigate your way out of that. Like, you have to navigate to be friends with every single one of them and not get poisoned. So
how does that work, right? You have your father, and you have 5 wives, right? You say at one point it was 3 in the same.
3 in the same house.
In the same house, right? So how was that experience? Having your mom, her co-wives, and your brothers and sisters there. How was that experience?
So my dad, we lived in this massive, I don't know, like 6-7 bedroom house, I think. So the wives had their own rooms and their own kitchen where they would cook. So it was like a 2 floor, which is like here, if it's a 1 floor, it's 1 up and then
Down.
1 down, right? And the up there is where, like, my mom also lived up there, but her kitchen was downstairs. And us, the boys, we always lived downstairs to protect the house, right? And my dad lived upstairs. So you see them in the house, you can communicate with the wives. But I think for me personally, I was very young when that was all happening. So I was more in a position of, like, I didn't have any enmity with anyone.
Yeah.
I was friends with every other person, right? So I think what I always say in my head is trauma became normal to me because it happened so much. It happened so often that I have accepted trauma as my way of life. So no matter what happened in my family, I had to wake up the next day and live my life.
Yeah, life goes on.
So there was always fights in the house. My dad was a very high temper person. He would bring out his gun to, like, threaten to shoot anyone who shows up. And then my brother would get a machete, like, I'm going to kill you. It's a whole thing. And I was just sitting there watching this whole thing go down because I wasn't in any, like, I was a kid, so I didn't choose anyone. So I would just sit and, like, they would run past me with a machete. My dad would run past me with a gun. I would just sit in the middle watching the whole thing happen. So I grew up in the middle of chaos, right? So I just had to learn how to navigate it. I think learn how to communicate and be the middle guy. And one thing that anyone who knows me will tell you is, if I don't want to do something, I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to, like, sit and, like, look at you. Yeah. And I wouldn't do it. Like, I don't, because the biggest problem in my house was saying no. If you said no to my dad, he would come after you. But this one thing he would tell you. If he told my mom before he passed away that my name, he said that Zeke was the only kid I could never understand. Because I would tell this dude to do something, he would not say no, he wouldn't say yes.
Yeah.
But he would do it. If he doesn't want to do it, he's not going to do it. But he's not going to fight you. He's just not going to do it, right? So I learned how to now navigate those strange situations. It wasn't fun for sure. Like it wasn't fun. It was always fighting. And there's also this fear of being poisoned. Like there's also this competition of like, yo, don't eat at that person's spot because you don't know they might put something in the food that you eat and die. Right? I was I didn't care. I always want to eat because I love food. But yeah, it was strange. There was always competition going on. But I just learned how to deal with it and grow up in the family. So
I have one last question before we grow, right? How important is relationships in today's age, right? Because you just said I noticed that too, watching your Instagrams, right? It seems like you build connections with everybody from D-Weeks to
whoever.
Yeah, to whoever. Like, if I throw a name at you right now, you probably either know the person or know somebody that knew them. So how is relationships? What's the importance of it right now?
So for me, I always saw relationships, like regardless of what I'm doing, no matter where I'm at, for me it's all about the people. It's all about connecting people, right? Because most times it's not what you have, it's who you know. Right? If your car dies in the middle of Missouri, I have someone who lives in the middle of Missouri that I can call and come help me out.
Yeah.
But if you have money, you don't have no one you can call, you're not gonna get out of there.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So for me, it's all about finding people who have values that you can bring to each other, mutually beneficial relationships that I have of friends and people who I connect with. Because you never know who you might need for something. You never know who is going to help you out in some way or form. So for me, connecting with people is very important to me because I believe that it connects the city. Because you can call someone on the phone like, yo, pull up, this is happening, I need you here, I need you there. And you can't beat that. Like you can't beat that. Like if you are the person who people know that knows someone, you always eat. One of my mentors, Scott Haven, is I think he's the most connected person I know in KC. Like Scott is super connected. So like the event I did in January, I always give him prop for this. I did an event in January and I literally called Scott like, yo, Scott, I have a vision of an event I want to do. It's gonna be panelists, but I have no location, I have no guest speakers. He's like, I got a location, I got a guest speaker. Just make sure you bring people to the event. I'm like, bet. And Scott literally gave me a name of people to email and told me, yo, you can come to my spot and we can do the event. And all I had to do was market the event. And I market the event so hard because he already gave me what I needed. So if I didn't know Scott, I wouldn't have an event. And I didn't pay him nothing. It was a mutual beneficial relationship because I brought people to his company and there was like 70-something people there. And it was like a 50 people to come. It was 70 people showed up. It was packed out. So stuff like that you cannot buy. You can't buy stuff like that. It's just relationships. So I say this: no matter what you do, no matter who you are, there's nothing better than a good name. There's nothing better than someone calls your name like, yo, I know that guy. He's a fun guy. He's a cool guy, man. You wanna link up with him. There's nothing better than that, regardless of what you're doing. And that's what I always start with, because my dad didn't have a good relationship like with people. He had awful relationships with some people. Like he would fight you. Like if he was driving, he would like curse at people. And I learned from everything he didn't do right, and I plan to do that right. And that's why when I meet people, I want to be able to be, even if I might not like you, you might not like me, but you have a good experience with me, regardless of what happens. And if I mess up, I apologize. Yo, I messed up, I apologize. And that's it. And we move on. So yeah, relationship is key. Number one, regardless of what's going on.
I hope people really digest that properly. I hope people really listen to it.
Yeah, because I mean, if you come to US, you know nobody. Like you know nobody.
Yeah.
The first thing you need to find out is who will get you to places.
Yeah.
And like, if you figure that out, like that's the number one thing you have to do. If you come to the US as an extra student, make friends. Because those friends will give you a couch to sleep on. Those friends will feed you. Those friends will drive you around. Those friends who tell you where there's money at, where there's networking events, where there's party at.
Yeah.
So
and it's so beautiful just listening to your story.
I'm humbled.
It's just beautiful. Like it's really dope to see somebody else building something for themselves, and because at the end of the day, it's all about legacy. It's about what legacy are you planning to leave behind
for the next person coming.
You know, you might, even if you're not in Kansas City 10 years from now, right, you move into doing bigger stuff, right?
Exactly.
Excuse me. The next kid that comes here from Nigeria, when he comes, it's always going to be a good thing when they say, oh, I'm from Nigeria. And you're like, oh, there used to be this amazing guy here called Zik. You know what?
Hopefully it happens that way.
So that kid already has a one-up, because now they're expecting this kid to be Zik. He might not have the same experience. He might not have the same interest, but a door is open for that kid. This is what it's about. It's about those small, intricate things that actually carry weight.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Having a good name, being approachable. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Building the necessary connections and not being too greedy to get one up on people all the time. You know.
Also know your circle too. Like know your circle. Like you gotta know your circle. Like you gotta know. If you don't know your circle, you're gonna like just do random things. Like I only have 2 or 3 people who are close to me.
Yeah.
And I have a lot of connections, but like I know where I don't want to be at. I know what I don't want to do. Most of the time I'm home. I'm literally home editing and like working on my stuff. So be private sometimes. And
it's very necessary. You know, they say collaborate and don't attach. Me personally, at this point, at this stage in my life, I don't really think I have like best friends. I don't. To be honest with you, if it's just my wife. Like earlier, you were saying you said something like, when you're getting a wife, get somebody who really understands you, right? Because this is how I look at it. Like, I don't wake up every day loving myself. You know what I mean? It's days that I wake up and I'm just not feeling myself that day, right? So if I'm not loving myself, but how can I love her, right? But at the same time, I know I have a friend in her that I can come to and say, man, it's just one of those days today, right?
I'm going through it,
And she's going to give me an ear to listen. She's going to be like, you want to talk about it? Nah, I'm cool. And she'll leave it alone, right? So it's like,
my wife won't leave it alone.
She would not leave it alone.
What are you thinking about? But which is helpful because I don't talk. I talk outside.
Yeah.
But like like when I go at home, I don't talk a lot. So like she'll keep prying me to say what it is, and then after later I say what is going on, and she we talk about it.
I don't like she would say it once in a while, but she would realize that I'm not digging it, and she would kind of leave it alone.
For a
little bit, and then eventually, I'll communicate it. But it's like it's just. I build relationships with people, but I build that relationships from a distance, too, because it's a beautiful thing to network. It's a beautiful thing to be able to say, hey, oh, this is what I have going on. This is what I have going on. I have that going on. Right? Who do I call? It's good for me to be like, you know what? Let me call Joe, and then I'll call Joe. Hey, Joe, what's up? This is what I have going on. Boom, 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 and he like, oh, Charles. Go here, go there, go there.
Pull up.
And it's times where people hit me up like, hey, Joe gave me your number. He said 1, 2, 3, 4. You see what I'm saying? So it's like those relationships carry weight.
Yes. You
know what I mean? It's like Abraham. Hey, Abraham, yo, when I came to your luncheon, I saw this. Is there any way can I reach out to this person and do this? It's like, oh, yeah. You know what I mean? And he connects me to the person. Because he knows.
Yeah, he has the connection. Yeah.
Yeah, I can connect you with this person, and I expect you to do right. That's how those relationships they're just beautiful. Those are things that you can just.
You got to.
You can just.
I mean, Abraham is not a dope guy. Abraham is super connected in the city. Works hard he works.
I don't know if he gets tired, but every time you call him, it's either editing a video or at an event somewhere
on
or
the go.
planning to put an event again.
Always on the go.
It's never.
Yeah, I don't know how he does it, but yeah, he's on the go. He's on the always on me on the go, like on the go, which is especially at the age where we're at, like we're hustling, trying to get things happen. Like I props to him. He's a friend of mine, but I also see him like as a mentor in terms of like videography and cinematography, and like his tenacity to push for things that are huge, and then his work ethic. So like props.
Without Abraham, I don't think I would have started this, because I personally went and had a meeting with him like years ago at a Starbucks, and then I told him the idea what I wanted to do, and he's like, oh, okay, do this. And I just pulled a pen and paper. I was just writing everything he was saying. And then I went and started building, and I interviewed him. This is the first interview I did. It was just terrible. The audio was messed up. The stuff was just, and then I went in trying to transfer the files. I ended up formatting a whole memory card. Oh man.
That happens to the best
and then,
of us.
we did a second interview again, and the audio was not even
that happens to the best of us. I have done those days.
And but he's always if I have an interview that I think is gonna be a big one, like something that is gonna be a little out of my space, I'm like, yo, are you gonna be at the Plex? But nah, but I can come over and help you, come over and help me and stuff. Just a great guy, man. Yep. I wish nothing but the best for him, man. I can't wait for him to get noticed, and whatever he's put out to the world, for him to be rewarded for that. And you as well, man. I'm happy when I sit back and just on YouTube watching your stuff, I get really happy, I get really, really happy. There's this interview you did recently with the football player with the 6 fingers.
Oh yeah, TJ Roberts.
Yeah, and just his story, man. What a beautiful story. You know what I mean? Like just dealing with racism, being a mixed kid, growing up on a farm,
going through all that.
Yeah, things like that is things that I look at from afar, and I'm like, yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah, that's key right there.
That's the thing. That's why we do what we do. You know what I mean? And me personally, I can sit here and just
we can go on all day.
Yeah, but I appreciate you, man. I do.
Mean, thank you for having me on. I appreciate the love, man. Because like, you know this from being behind the scene and working on your project, but like, you never know who's seen it, and you never expect a lot of people are gonna see it, right?
Yeah.
But when someone commends you, like, yo, thank you, because that keeps you going, right?
Yeah.
You're like, man, that keeps me that. You just need that one person. And whenever I go around the city and like, I'm like, hey, I'm Zik, and then no one knows my name. I'm like, Fight Up Case, like, oh, I know Fight Up Case. I'm like,
yeah.
That helps me, because like I put a lot of work into doing it, and like that, like people appreciate it. Like it means a lot to me, because you know this as well. When you do something that's you're passionate about, you don't get paid for it.
No,
most times,
no.
right?
No. Not even most. I've not earned a penny yet doing this.
Like literally, like my show, I haven't earned a penny doing my show either, right? But it's later on that I started like building it out to become a business, that I've been able to earn money doing the stuff that I do, right? But it's like you do it out of love, right?
Yeah.
But when someone shows that love back, you're like, okay, I'm gonna do the next episode. I'm gonna do the next one.
Yeah.
Because those things keep you going, and before you know it, you get the best connections out of it, and then things happen. It's magic. Yeah. So all I'd say, Asante Sana. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome, man. And I'm looking forward to seeing the growth of Fight Up KC, and just you personally as a human being, because business growth and personal growth are parallel. So I'm looking forward to seeing that growth, and keep building, keep growing. The future is bright, man. Let's get to it, man.
Thank you. Shout out Charles here, pumping me up. Let's go. Fight up, Pepsi. Thank you, man. I appreciate you for having me on, man. It's an honor to be here sitting. Thank you to be on the other side too. So thank you so much. Love. That was good. That was good. That was really good. Hey, that was really good.